Welcome to Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement, part of the Treehouse Podcast Network. I'm your host, Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, Joann Jackson.
Hey.
Now, joining us in studio, we were supposed to have one guest, but we ended up with two today.
Troublemakers.
Yeah, we got some troublemakers up in here. We've got my wife, Karen, joining us.
Hey, hey.
And at the end of the table, we've got retired Dallas officer Andy Caceras.
Good morning, everybody.
And joining us remotely from the state of Mississippi, we've got retired Officer Michael Finley. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, Steve. It's a pleasure to be here.
Everybody having a good day?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Absolutely.
Andy stalked me. He followed me the whole way here.
Is this true, Andy?
He kept a safe distance, though. I knew it was him.
Well, I recognized somebody passed me up going like 90 or 95, and I recognized the plates that was in front of me.
I was not going 95, just for the record.
It's 90.
Wow.
I wasn't even doing that.
Wow, Joann.
I was in the 70s.
Well,
The speed limit 70.
I appreciate your urge to make it to the studio on time. You know that you.
I had cupcakes I needed to bring.
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. Joann baked. She actually brought baked goods today, homemade baked goods.
I feel our guests deserve a treat when they come all the way out here.
Well, I hate I'm not in the studio.
Me too.
Well, my question is, what kind of food did you bring today, Andy?
Sorry, I didn't bring anything today. I apologize, Steve. Next time I'll definitely bake something for you.
Slacker down there.
Okay. Now I do want to make mention, Karen, you had someone give you a patch this week. It was the
It's our canine officer at Wise County.
Wise County Sheriff's Office canine officer.
That's a nice looking patch.
Cool looking
cool.
patch.
Is that what the dog looks like?
Yeah, it's similar.
Okay. I was just making sure it wasn't a lab or like
No,
a
it's not.
labradoodle or anything like that.
I'm not sure what kind of dog it is. It's not a German Shepherd, but it looks
Is
Probably
it?
Mal.
a real dark German Shepherd.
Is he
Yeah.
smaller and really hyper?
I haven't met him, but I've seen him from afar.
Maybe a malligator.
Maybe
A land
Melligator.
shark.
he is dark.
Chop.
He's dark. Dark.
Yeah, those Malinois, they
Hopefully
don't
so.
they don't rest.
No.
Now, Andy, you're a returning guest on the show, and let's remind our listeners here. You are retired from the Dallas Police Department, correct?
Correct.
And how many years did you do at Dallas?
I did 27 years with DPD.
Very Joann,
Seasoned.
We're the same age.
He's seasoned.
dude, you can't call the guests old.
I've been friends with Andy for like over 20 years, so.
I just realized how old it was. Yes, a couple of days ago, I ran into a young officer, rookie officer. We were talking, and he told me how long he's been on. Well, he's been on 6 years, and he's 26 years old. I was like, you know what? I'm 30 years older than you. I said, you weren't even born when I was a police officer.
Nope.
That was kind of depressing, yeah, because we one of my job duties there at the end of my career is doing background checks on applicants, and when you see the dates of birth coming across, and you're like, wow, I was already here when this person was born.
It's like when someone says, oh, it was about 30 years ago. And I'm thinking, oh, so the late 70s, early 80s. No, like 1996.
All right, and Andy, your time in Dallas there, any special assignments?
Well, thinking about working for a bigger department, you got opportunities to kind of work everywhere. I was in the gang unit for 11 years. I did recruiting personnel for 4 years. I did dignitary protection for 5 years, and criminal intelligence was my last assignment for 2 years. So it was definitely a good career.
I say you had a lot of opportunities there.
I sure did.
Now, Michael, you currently are living in Mississippi, correct?
I'm born and raised in Mississippi, as you can tell by the accent, and but I'm also a former Dallas police officer. I served 16 years in the police department there.
So you moved from Mississippi over to Dallas. You were an officer, and then you returned back home.
I did. Came home.
Now, can we say what you do now?
Yeah, so I am the Director of Training and Development for the State Personnel Board for state government here in Mississippi. So we basically do all the leadership training for all the state employees.
Wow.
That sounds fancy, Michael.
Well, it sounds fancy. I'm not sure it is fancy, but it's it's we like to give ourselves highfalutin titles to make ourselves feel better.
Now, your time in Dallas, any special assignments?
Yeah, well, so 2 years in patrol. I was at the Northwest Division, and I had probably about a year and a half in, and I got drafted to dispatch, which back then they had police officers, not just retired police officers working there. So that was probably the worst year of my life because you're young, you're ready to go out and clean up the streets all by yourself and everything. So dispatch, came back to patrol for about 6 months, and then I made it to SWAT. Out of my academy class, I was the only one that wanted to go to SWAT, and I'm about 160 pounds at that time, and made it to SWAT. Got promoted after a couple of years. Had to go back to patrol for they always send you back to patrol. Then came back to SWAT, and I ended up my career. Ended up as a team one of the team leaders there in the SWAT division.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Now, and you said you still train a TTPOA?
Yeah. So while I was while I was with Dallas, I was a member of the Texas Tactical Police Officers Association, which is a state association for SWAT officers. And I was a training director there for part of my career, right? And then I was eventually president. So I served 2 terms as president, and I am still on the advisory board for them. So I go back to conferences once a year to get my testosterone fix up. And
Oh,
That's funny.
now your time in SWAT and Dallas. Any stories going back to those days?
oh yeah, we got a few. So one in particular, SWAT gets asked to do everything, right? I mean, we run the hazardous warrants and we have the barricaded persons, but we're also the jack of all trades. When the city has a problem, they throw SWAT at it because they don't have to take manpower away from the streets or anything. So the zoo one time had an escaped chimpanzee. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but it's running around the neighborhood, and they needed officers to basically help track it down. So they had zoo officials out there. So we were paired up with some zoo officials with a tranquilizer gun, and we're going around the neighborhood trying to track down this chimp that's running around all over the place. Well, we find it. It's on a rooftop, and it's running around on the roof. Well, the neighbors know what's going on, so they're starting to gather around. And, they've got their kids out there and they're pointing at the chimp, and we're standing there, waiting for the zoo person to do something. And finally, we turn to the zoo person and say, you've got a tranquilizer gun. Can you shoot him from where you are up on the roof? He goes, yeah, I think we can get him. We're like, well, let's get him and get out of here, right? So,
how many people find a chimpanzee running around their neighborhood, and what do you do when you do?
Yeah, exactly. You call the SWAT team.
You have 20 people in the neighborhood. They're all watching. Like I said, kids are out there and everything. They're laughing. It's a circus for them, right? So the zoo guy goes, yeah, I think I can get him. Well, he shoots and he gets him, except the chimp doesn't immediately drop. The chimp takes off running and jumps and lands on a transformer.
Oh no.
And I'm talking sparks flying.
Oh no.
For 20 seconds, this chimp is barbecuing up here on this transformer. Parents have got their kids and they're, holding, shielding them and everything. Kids are crying and everything. Aww. Finally, the chimp body falls. We turn around and the zoo guy's gone. He's not there. So, of course, in the paper the next day, Dallas SWAT kills, favorite chimp of the zoo. So, yeah, we got blamed.
Of course, you guys took the fall for it or took the blame for it.
Yep.
A poor chimp.
Yeah. What do you do if you have a chimpanzee running around your neighborhood?
I don't know. I don't think that's something you can train for. Well, that research lab just had 80 or however many chimps escape, and they were just running rampant in the woods, and then the story disappeared. So I don't even know if they got all of them.
I'd call animal control.
You wouldn't call it SWAT team?
Nah. Animal control, they got it.
Yeah, I bet animal control knows what to do.
Now, Andy, have you ever had the opportunity, or should I say, have you ever had to throw anything at work?
Well, it's been a few times. A couple incidents I had to throw some stuff at certain individuals. But I remember when I just graduated the academy in December, and I was putting on training with an FTO, field training officer, and I was on my second phase with my senior officer, and we were driving around. I was working in Oak Cliff, the Oak Cliff area, and we're just running plates. He was driving, and I was passenger. So, I was just running plates, and, I ran a plate, and it came back stolen. So, we started, chasing the stolen vehicle down the streets in Oak Cliff. And, I was all excited, all pumped up. Of course, any stolen car, they're going to bail out and start running. So, of course, the individual starts running. Back in the when I graduated Canada, we had those PR-24s.
Yeah,
I don't know if you
baton.
Reach out and touch someone.
Yeah. So now they don't issue they don't issue PR-24s anymore. They're ASPs now. So I had my PR-24. Back in the day, you used to always have your PR-24 right next to your seat. So whenever you get out, you'd always carry it with you everywhere you went. So
grab it and bail out.
Yep. Sure enough. So the guy started running, and of course, I had my PR-24. I put it in my had it in my hand. So I was chasing right after him. And, growing up, you see all these, movies, TV shows like, TJ Hooker, Adam 12, Hill Street Blues. Growing up, you see all these police movies. And, at the time, when I had that PR-24, I went back to my times when I was watching TJ Hooker.
Reverted back to TV, which we all know is real.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I had my PR-24, and, lo and behold, what I did? I just threw my PR-24 at the suspect, trying to get his legs so he could triple, but it didn't work. He looked at me, he just kept running. So, I had no choice but just keep chasing it, because my senior officer was, he was chasing too, and I didn't want him to catch him before I did. So, lo and behold, we ended up catching the suspect, handcuffed, put him back brought him back to the car. And when I put him back in the car, my senior officer looks at me and said, "What the hell are you thinking, Andy? This ain't TV."
He knew exactly what you were thinking.
So, I had to go, find my PR-24. This was at nighttime. So luckily I ended up finding my PR-24 and, brought it back and just, went to jail and, just embarrassed as hell.
Well, I had a supervisor one night. He stopped a car out on Interstate 35, and the car took off on him, but not until he was up by the door contacting the violator. So anyways, he jumps in his car, chases on, and I wasn't involved in the pursuit, but after they ended up getting the guy stopped and in custody somewhere down in Dallas. Thing is somewhere off 75. He called out and he said, "Any unit on 35, if you could be on the lookout for my flashlight." And sure enough, I went back to where he had made his stop, and there's a streamlight, the streamlight flashlight laying there on the side of the road, and it was just kind of rolling back and forth. And I got it, but this one's going to cost you, Sarge.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll sell it back to you. Now, Michael, you did a lot of stuff with SWAT, as a matter of fact, and you did a little dignitary support, correct?
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, whenever the Secret Service comes into town, they're what we call the inner perimeter. They surround the VIP, and then SWAT is asked to do basically the middle perimeter. Now that sounds kind of glamorous, but if they're staying in a hotel, we don't stay on the floor they're staying on. We're in the stairwell, the floor beneath it. We're the next perimeter up there. But we had, every time they would come in, we would have a motorcade for the dignitary. We would have to shut down whatever airport they were at. They always flew into a private hangar. And then we had to, wherever they went, we had to provide security at that site. And so one time, President Clinton was in North Dallas, and he was visiting a donor, highfalutin donor in North Dallas, multi-million-dollar mansion. So he's there, and I'm on perimeter out by the front gate. and it's not a glamorous job, but while I'm standing there, everybody pretty much knows that the president's in town. I mean, the limos and, the big Suburban with the critical action team or CAT team. I mean, you can't miss it. I mean, it's pretty obvious who's there, right? So they're gathering around out in the yard across the street. And the Secret Service agent comes up and orders me to tell them to disperse. And I'm like, it's their yard. And he goes, well, they need to go. And I said, it's their yard. And finally, my lieutenant comes up and he goes, it's their yard. We can't tell people to leave their yard. And finally, the Secret Service calmed down. So everything's good. Well, now we get notice that the president's about to leave. And again, there's, 20 or 30 people in the yard. And I hear the gates open. I'm doing my duty. I'm watching across the street. I'm watching for any back.
Oh, yeah, you got your eyes open. You got to be scanning for threats.
I am not watching, the president and everything. Well, let me say this about the CAT team. They're in a Suburban, and we've always been told if you see these guys get out of the car, then it's hit the fan, right? I mean, they've got supposedly they've got air defense in that Suburban. They've got everything, but they are only going to respond if something is really, really bad. So anyway, now in a motorcade, there's 2 limos. So people don't know exactly which limo the president's in. And I hear them behind, they're leaving. And all of a sudden I hear a tire screech and a bam. I mean, wham. I'm like, uh-oh. So I start to turn around and I see these guys in the Suburban, the CAT team bailing out. And I'm like, all right, something's going on. I'm not sure. Now,
not good.
Down the street, and all the media that follows that's in the motorcade, they're in a sprint. They're running up toward me, and I'm still not sure what's going on. Well, it turns out, we find out later, that as they're leaving, President Clinton said, hey, I want to talk to that girl. And he opens the door and jumps out of the limo as it's moving.
Oh my God.
He liked that girl.
These
Yeah, he did.
limos are all bulletproof and everything. They don't stop on a dime. So one of them, the first one stops and the second one bangs into the back of it. Well, all the agents are in that one and they're tumbling all over the place, which is why they're not the ones that jump out with the president. So the CAT team was there and they said, we're the only ones left. So they were the ones that jumped out to surround the president to make sure, this girl that he was talking to was not a threat to national security, I guess. So, it was stuff like that happened all the time with dignitaries, and it seemed to happen a little bit more with President Clinton.
Why am I not surprised?
What year was this?
Oh,
Had to be the 90s.
Yeah. So you're gonna make me feel older. So I'm a little bit older.
I'm just wondering if that was Joann. Was that Joann? Were you
That
in Dallas
wasn't
at
me.
that time?
No, I wasn't. It wasn't me.
Wasn't me.
I don't know about you guys, and especially Andy, but I'm thinking if it stopped the president in his tracks and he wanted to jump out and talk to her, did you see this lady?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yes, and she was a attractive female. She's probably in her 20s. Yeah, she was there. She was attractive, and of course they left, and we're sitting there, and everybody's oohing and ahhing over what just happened. So I'm not sure if he got her phone number or not, though. That's
Allegedly.
We've got no comment.
No comment.
no comment, right?
Oh, and I understand also, Michael, as a rookie, you had a very special foot pursuit you were involved in.
Yeah. So Andy, you're talking about jumping out stolen car, right? So it's maybe my second or third night out of the academy, and it's December, and it's cold. We've got our jackets on and everything, and I do not know what is going on. I don't know what they're saying on the radio. My trainer's, talking stuff. I don't understand, the language that police use. I don't understand what this is. So we pull in. Now, this is when I started rookie. This is how old I am. We didn't have mobile the terminals in our car. If you wanted to check a car, to see if it's stolen, you had to get on the radio. And so we pull through this motel parking lot. My trainer checks his car, and sure enough, it comes back stolen. And my trainer says, "All right, we're going to sit up on it." And I have no idea what that means. And so I'm asking, I'm like, what does sit up on it mean, right? And so he's in, and we got, briefcases in the back seat. He's putting them on the floorboard. He goes, well, we're going to watch to see if anybody gets in this car like they're doing right now. And sure enough, a guy gets in the car and he starts, going. So my trainer's driving, but he's also on the radio because I'm a stupid rookie. I don't know anything. So he's on the radio and he's like, are we going this way, going this way? And we haven't hit the lights yet. So we're just following. Well, all of a sudden the guy sees us, right? And he pulls into a 7-Eleven and he jumps out and says, my trainer jumps out, pistol drawn, show me your hands. And the guy's got a big gulp glass. And he goes, I just want to get a big gulp, and takes off running. And my trainer says, go get him. Well, he's talking to me, right? So I take off. Now, again, I'm lean, and if I can be modest a little bit, I was fast. I mean, I was a fast guy. And so, I got this guy. And I take about 2 steps, flat on my face. Boom.
Oh, no.
So I'm picking myself up. A 300-pound police officer runs past me. That's how
no.
So I'm super embarrassed, right? So I get up. Well, the guy goes around and Jack in the box. I said, I'm going to head him off. So I'm cutting him off, and he runs across Northwest Highway. If anybody doesn't know Northwest Highway, it's a divided road. Well, the key part about the divided road means there's a median, and I don't realize that there's a median. And so, yes, what do? I trip over that.
Oh no.
This rookie can't walk straight.
Yeah.
So and when you're on I learned later that when your partner's chasing someone, the term you would use, my partner's on the ground. My trainer joked lately, you were really on the ground, So so as I'm just about to grab, I'm like a couple of feet away from this guy. I'm catching up to him. Another car pulls up and they snatch him up, throw him in the car, and leave. So now I'm having to do the guilt of shame. I'm having to walk back across the highway. My pants are torn. I'm breathing hard, and I get back, and my trainer's just like basically trying. He's embarrassed because he's like, "Yeah, that's my rookie. I can't believe it." He tells me to go sit in the car to rest, and so I sit in the back seat of the car, and I'm trying to get my breath. Like I said, my pants are torn, my knees are bloody, and the suspect is sitting in the front seat.
Wait,
and
what?
He said, "Hey, you're the blankety blank that busted his ass, right?" I'm like, and at that point, in a police academy, they taught us about, proper procedure and, unnecessary force and how. And I said I would never use unnecessary force on somebody. That night, it was the first time I said, if I ever was going to, it would be that person. So, it was not a good start to my, police career.
This is Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. Check us out online at offbeatcopshow.com.
Let's talk to Daniel Cook now from Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration. 833 Cook DFW is the phone number. The website is cookdfw.com. Daniel, how are you, sir?
Doing fantastic, Steve. Thank you, brother.
And now, Daniel, I understand there are several different types of shingles that can be used on a roof. How long does the average shingle last?
Steve, that's a fantastic question. I get asked that so many times because everybody wants to know what to replace the roof with. And it's unfortunately where we live here in North Texas, we consider this the DFW Metroplex. We have some of the highest rates of bad weather that comes through anywhere in the country. So we have severe wind storms, we have severe tornadoes, and of course, everybody knows the drastic hailstorms that we have here. And so all of those things combined, they wreck our roofs really badly around here. And so, let's say the old days, you're used to put like 20-year shingles on your roof, or 30-year shingles, or 40-year shingles, even 50-year shingles. And manufacturers stopped saying that because they figured out that people were getting upset. Because what would happen is they put a 50-year shingle on their home and they'd have a 3-inch hailstorm in 3 years. And guess what happened? They had to replace their roof and they had a 50-year shingle. So now shingles are divided up into classifications that are UIL tested, Universal Labs, and they give them certain rankings that will withstand hail, but not be like hail proof. It's called hail resistance. And so there's class 4, that's for hailstorms up to 2 inches for a certain amount of duration of time. There's class 3s, and those are for 1.5-inch hailstorms for a certain amount of times. And then there's class 2s, certain things like that. Those are lower grade roofs, don't have as much matting. But even with that being said, Steve, roofs do not last as long as people think they should ever. And that's just because, again, it goes back to the elements that you're putting them in and the extreme heat, the extreme cold. So our average roof life expectancy in Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, last insurance meeting I had was 7.5 years. So it's unfortunate. It's a very costly expense here that we have to deal with. But, if you're getting 10 or 12 years out of your roof, you are definitely exceeding expectations. But there are people, unfortunately, that have gotten their roofs replaced after 3 years. So it's all over the board, and it just depends on where you live, the style of roof that you have. And, of course, the materials do make up some of the difference as well.
Well, and if someone has any doubts as to whether or not they need a new roof, they can give you guys a call, and you guys do free roof inspection, correct?
Absolutely. If in doubt, call us out.
There you go. Give Daniel a call at Cook DFW Roofing and Restoration for any of those roofing, remodeling, or restoration needs. The number's 833-COOK-DFW. The website, cookdfw.com. Be sure to ask about their free first responder upgrade.
Planning for the future is challenging, and getting where you want to go in life requires strategies built around your unique financial needs. Alexander Financial Management is here to help you reach your goals. As fiduciaries, Alexander Financial Management will pursue the best solutions for you, no exception. While their decades of experience and service are available to everyone, Alexander Financial especially wants to help first responders and their families. The founder is a former police officer, and the executive team includes a retired fire captain and a retired police officer. Their extensive background in public service gives a deep understanding of the public retirement systems of Texas. So for retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, and estate planning, Alexander Financial Management has your back, so you can look forward. Get more info at alexfm.com. That's alexfm.com. Investment advisory services offered through Transcend LLC, a registered investment advisor. TE3 and Alexander Financial are not affiliated entities. Insurance products and services are not offered through TE3, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents.
And we're back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. I'm your host, Steve Rutherford. Co-host for today's show, Joann Jackson.
Hey.
We've got my beautiful bride joining us in studio today, Karen.
She's so pretty.
Strike a pose.
I'm glad you said that, not Andy.
He can say it too. Strike a pose, Andy. Strike a pose.
Also in studio, we've got retired Dallas officer Andy Caceras.
Hello, everybody.
And joining us remotely from the state of Mississippi, we've got retired officer Michael Finley.
Pleasure to be here.
Now, this segment of Offbeat is sponsored by our good friends at Alexander Financial Management. If you have questions about retirement planning, investment strategies, life insurance, or estate planning, check out Alexander Financial Management at alexfm.com. And I will say this about the guys over at Alexander. They're good friends, and one thing about those guys, they do not charge for financial advice or consultation services for first responders.
Nope.
Wow.
Or surviving.
Yeah, or for survivors,
Mm-hmm.
fallen officers.
Yep.
So, yeah, if you've got a need out there, planning for retirement, anything like that, give the folks over at Alexander a call. Check them out online. Again, their website, alexfm.com. Well, Michael, I've got a whole slew of stories here that you provided me with. And, my fear is we're not going to get to all these on today's show. So we're definitely going to have you back because these are great. We talk about whenever you have your career in law enforcement, you see so many things and collect so many stories that you don't know what to do with them whenever you retire. And so many guys say, hey, I was going to write a book, but we know how we are.
Yeah.
If it doesn't have pictures, I'm not reading it. So
Truest statement's never been said.
So it's great to have you on the show and let you share some of these stories that you've got. And
well, it also shows for our newer officers the difference in policing over the years.
Absolutely, and that's another good point you bring up, Joann. The difference in policing between the generations,
the equipment used,
the equipment, and then the difference in the job, and given the geography.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we like to have officers on from all over the country. And of course, we had Tamara on from Australia, just to see what policing's like all over the place. Joann, here's a list we've got that Michael's got. Let me see.
Can she read your handwriting?
You know what?
It's just about talking.
That's
Tossing the evidence.
Just after training, tossing evidence.
Detox.
Yeah. So
Tossing evidence.
Yeah. So I'm maybe 6 months after training. I'm still trying to clean up all of the streets of Dallas by myself.
Still trying to learn how to run. Right?
Yeah. Stay on your feet.
I love
But I'm
those
getting a
stories.
little cocky now. I've got this down. So I'm with a partner, Scott, who's a great guy. And we're driving down the road. It's a summer evening, about 6 p.m., still kind of light out, and people were wandering around the neighborhood. And we're driving down the road, and there's these 4 or 5 youths, teenagers that are walking in the middle of the road, and they're walking toward us. And we get, within 30, 40 yards of them, and they look up and see us, and we see a guy make the motion of throwing something. And Scott and I look at each other, and we're just laughing. Like, can it be that obvious, right? So we pull over, tell them to come over here, and they, put them all on the hood. They got their hands on the hood, and we pat them down, make sure there's no weapons. And while, no weapons are there. So while I'm talking to them, my partner Scott goes over into the area where this kid threw something. And I'm telling him, I'm like, dude, I've seen some dumb people in my life, but, this is ridiculous. I mean, we're 30, 40 yards from you, and you throw something down, and did you not think we were going to see it? How stupid can you be? And I got it, right? And so Scott's now on his hands and knees, I'm like, all right. So let me continue, right? So, dude, if I, stupid was in the dictionary, and I looked it up, it would be your picture. I mean, I'm just berating. And Scott finally comes back, and he shrugs his shoulders like, I can't find it. And I'm, rolling my eyes. I'm like, oh my God, my partner's blind. So I go to that area, and I'm like, it's fresh cut like grass. I mean, it's not like a junkyard or anything. And I hear Scott, he's haranguing this guy. Man, I've seen some stupid people in my life. I can't believe how stupid. So we get done. We can't find anything. And so Scott, my partner, tells the guy, he says, look, I'll make a deal with you. If we find what did you throw down? The guy goes, I threw down a marijuana joint. I said, okay. If we find it, you're going to jail. But if you find it and get rid of it, we'll let you go. Now, the kid still got his hands on the hood of our car, right? Everybody does. And the kid's like, are y'all joking with me? Like, no, we're not joking. Said, if we find it, you're going to jail. But if you find it, get rid of it, we'll set you free. And the kid's like, I need to get my hands off the car. We're like, sure. And he takes his hands off his car. Now, our car door's open. He reaches in and pops the hood of our car, opens the hood up, reaches in and grabs a marijuana joint and crushes it up and starts laughing his tail off. Was acting like he threw something, but when his hands got on the hood of our car, he shoved it down in the crack of our hood.
Oh my God! Joke's on you.
He and his friends are just laughing. I mean, they're probably to this day, they probably have a podcast and they're telling the story. Yeah, I mean, and when he walked away, Scott and I were just, we had to clap on that one. That was a good trick on us. So yeah, that kind of made
He
me
knew the routine.
humble. Like, maybe don't berate people so much now. So
Yeah. You really have to give them props for that.
That was genius.
I had someone one night in the middle of the night. I was going down a residential street, and we had an arsonist that had set stuff on fire. And of course, I saw a kid walking down the sidewalk, and he's carrying a gas can in the middle of the night. Hey, I found my arsonist, right? This is not normal. And he turned around, looked at me, and I yelled at him to stop. And I was just kind of cold trailing him with the car, following behind him. Told him to stop a couple of times, and then he took off running and then acted like he threw something. And it was the same kind of deal, Michael. I searched all over and couldn't find anything, and ended up having to let him go. But I didn't. I'm trying to think back. Did I make him put his hands on my car?
He threw that gas in your engine.
Yeah, and after I let him go, he had the nerve to ask me if I'd give him a ride to the gas station. I'm like, dude, you threw something away on me, and I said, no, I'm not going to do you any favors.
Yeah.
Now, Andy, I got to first off, Andy. Let's go back to the other episode, the previous episode you were on. You were talking about recruiting stories, and it's probably the all-time greatest story we've heard on the show so far. And it was about someone filling out their pre-polygraph questionnaire when they were applying, and on your question about have you ever had been involved in a deviant sexual act or whatever, come to find out this gentleman said that he went fishing and caught a fish and nobody was around, so he did no things with the fish, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he definitely did.
So the reason I bring that up is because you've told me that you've got a recruiting story involving a hotel for us.
Well, what are you recruiting at the hotel, Andy? Isn't that a vice thing?
Yeah, I really don't know what to expect out of this. So.
It leads up to the hotel.
Oh.
To the motel.
Hotel, motel, Holiday Inn.
But like I said, during my 27 years with Dallas PD, I got a chance to be a recruiter. I was there for 5 years, and being a recruiter, you get to travel all over the states. Mostly in Texas and out of state, New York. Louisiana, Mississippi,
Puerto Rico.
Yeah, We go everywhere. So it's a nice job to do with the department. This one time, me and my partner, when you make these trips, out of town trips, it's one officer be responsible for all the traveling, to reserve the hotel, set up the job fair, stuff like that. So it was my partner's turn to set up everything. So, he set up for the hotel. It was a Holiday Inn. No, I'm sorry, Hampton Inn. Actually, we were going to Mississippi because we were doing a 3 or 4 day.
Look how that just tied into the show.
We were going actually to Mississippi, to Jackson State University, because they were going to do a 4-day recruiting trip there for the college students down there in Jackson, in Mississippi. But me and my partner decided to stop in Louisiana before we head to Mississippi and do recruiting in Louisiana.
At the Bossier City Horseshoe Casino and stuff?
So
Shreveport, New Orleans.
Kind of, we were actually Louisiana Monroe.
Oh, okay.
So the University of Louisiana Monroe. Yeah. So, we had job fairs in Louisiana right there in that the town, Monroe. And, we got there early. So, man, we were busy all day. And we went to the university, we talked to the students, we did day classes, we did night classes, and then we were busy all day. So it was late, it's time to go, let's go back, let's go to the hotel. So we go to our hotel, and like I said, my partner's the one responsible to book everything, to make sure, everything's taken care of.
This isn't going well.
So we pull up. It was supposed to be in Hampton Inn.
Mm-hmm.
So we pull up and we drive in. We're in a police vehicle, in a police recruiting vehicle. So we see all these people walking around. It wasn't a Hampton. It was a Hampton Inn, but it was a motel, not a hotel.
Oh.
So you got all these prostitutes walking around the motel. The motels, they're the outdoor doors. So we go up inside, and I told my partner, I said, what is this? What the hell? I swear, Andy, it's Hampton Inn. This is the Hampton Inn and he pulled it up on the website. And sure enough, it was the same address what it showed on the website. So we go in. It was already late. It was after 10 o'clock, and we had no other choice to go in because it was already late to get another hotel. But we pull up, and there was just prostitutes walking all over the hotel. There was drugs being sold, and
that's when you go like this.
Cover your eyes.
Cover my eyes.
We had, we get 2 different rooms. So I had the bottom floor and he had the top floor. But I was on one side of the motel. He was on the other side. He was upstairs. And he said when he was going up to his room, there was tricks right there going up and down his room. The hallway. Then when I parked the city vehicle and there was some unhoused individual that was walking by, and he was asking for money. And I told him, you know what? I'll give you $10 if you keep an eye on this vehicle, police vehicle, all night for me.
Only $10?
He took it.
Did he?
Yeah.
Right on.
So I've got a question for you, Andy. Did you guys get any good applicants out of the group there?
You know, you couldn't even sleep. You know, the motel was so disgusting. You know, and I didn't think I even slept that night.
Did your partner ever make the reservations after that? Did you trust him to?
After that day, I said, you know what?
Yeah.
I'll take the reservation rest of the time
Was
we're
your
going
car
on cruise
still
trips.
intact the next day?
Yeah.
Yeah. Car was still good.
Yeah, everything was still good. You know, they had a continental breakfast, so we ended up going there. And sure enough, you know, it was me. You know, we had our police, polo.
You and a bunch of hookers.
Yeah, exactly. Me and my partner were eating right next to a bunch of hookers, and then next to the table, it was just.
Don't look up. Don't look up.
It was.
Oh my God.
Don't make eye contact.
Hey, officer.
It was just crazy.
So
It was
Andy,
just-
was they the late shift getting off or the early shift starting? You know, that's it.
I think it was the late shift getting off because they wanted to have some breakfast.
That's funny. That's too funny.
Hooking makes you hungry.
Apparently. That free continental breakfast.
Well, you got to stay hydrated. So,
You got to definitely look where your hotel is. I have a friend who was an officer for a federal agency and had to go down to McAllen. And they made his reservations, and he basically spent the night on the floor because there were so many shots being fired outside of his hotel that it wasn't safe for him to get up and leave and try and get in his car and leave. He's like, as I'm trying to get dressed, I'm trying to get ready, I'm trying to get out, and there's more shots fired and there's people screaming. He's like, holy crap, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die in this hotel. But he survived.
Crazy.
He survived.
yeah, sometimes it's worth it to pay a little bit more for your hotel than just go for
Well, the government pays for it, so.
All right. Michael, you, I'm looking through this list again. Let me see. Let's go for, okay. We're going to go for another SWAT call. Apparently you got called out on a Christmas Eve.
Yeah. So Christmas Eve, it's we're off. I'm not working that night, and my wife and I, this is before kids, and so we had a beautiful romantic dinner planned. And you know, I think we had pagers, you know, so we didn't have phones at the time. We had pagers. So, I mean, we are literally, I think we popped the cork on it, a bottle of wine or something, pager goes off. And it's cold. It's like 30 degrees outside. So I call out. So we get down to some West Dallas, and this woman who is a deaf mute had her power turned off on Christmas Eve, and she's very despondent.
That's mean.
And so she is in the hallway of her apartment, and she's got a knife to her throat. And we get down there, and of course, we have no way to negotiate with her. We have no way to talk to her because she's a deaf mute. Well, thankfully, we're in the Northwest Division, and I knew a guy who knew some sign language. Not great, but he wasn't qualified, but he at least knew some sign language. So he gets over there, and he's, you know, trying to talk to her and trying to convince her, you know, and she is just adamant that she is going to, you know, kill herself for this night. And so my sergeant makes a plan, and I'm a rookie in SWAT, you know, and so my sergeant makes a plan, and he picked a guy named Jude and myself. We were going to be the arrest team. So we took off our heavy vests, you know, we didn't have helmets. And what the plan was is that we were going to shoot tear gas at her, and then Jude and I were going to go in there and effect the arrest. Well, at this point, I had been exposed to tear gas, obviously, but it was the cloud, the vapor kind, you know, it was there, you know, and so they popped a canister, it spewed out tear gas. It's nasty, nasty stuff. You know, it makes your sinuses overload, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It's just makes your skin burn. It's nasty stuff. But I was ready, had my gas mask on. Jude and I were ready. Well, what I didn't know is that they were going to use this particular tear gas called a muzzle blast. And a muzzle blast is fine powder. If you can imagine baby powder, but it's a little bit more concentrated than that. Very fine powder, and it's packed into this canister. And when you shoot it, basically the front just pops out, and all this powder goes after you. I did not know about this muzzle blast at the time. I'd never seen it. I'm thinking it's going to be this cloud vapor, right? So, they're getting ready. 1, 2, 3, boom, he shoots. And immediately I take one step and I can't see anything. I cannot see anything. So on next thing I know, this knife comes flying out after me. Well, Jude had taken her arm and is swinging her around. And so she goes down. We, handcuff her. She's not affected by the gas at all. Everybody else is, anyway, we still got a gas mask on. Now I am a little bit smart enough to know, don't put your mask off. Don't pull your mask off at the scene, right? Because there's in the air. Mm-hmm. So we wait, we're done. I walk to the car, open up the trunk. I've got my shirt, I throw it in there and all that kind of stuff. And I take off my mask. Well, again, not thinking clearly, all that powder was in my hair and everything. And when I took off the mask, it went up and it came back down.
Oh, no.
And now I am, and I get the full effect of it. So I slam the trunk. I'm driving home. My head's out the window, snot's going back. So I get back, and this again before cell phones. And my wife hears me, and she she's all dressed up, and she opens the door to greet me, and boom, it hits her. She's having to take her, contacts out. I go up to the shower, wash my hair like 15 times to get it out. But the rest of the night, I would get some, so
it lingers.
So yeah, like the next day, I went out to my car, opened up the trunk. Again, all that powder. Now that boom, I get it again. So we call it the gift that keeps on giving. So I learned what muzzle blast was that night for sure.
We still use that?
No, I don't think they do.
Okay.
Yeah, but you just, anytime you deploy any kind of chemical agent stuff, it's getting on everybody.
Yeah. It's in the air and everybody gets it.
And ironically, later on, I became the subject matter expert on tear gas. So, yeah.
Let's talk to David now from Cindy Leisure Farmers Insurance Agency. Their number is 972-784-8888. David, what things can cause someone's insurance rates to increase?
That's a great question, Steve. So we'll start with auto. So auto insurance is, if you have a lead foot and you get a lot of traffic tickets, or if you have a lot of accidents, of course, they're going to surcharge your policies. So, when you're driving, try not to be texting or anything like that on the phone, to be distracted, and being, retired officer, we know how that goes. Also, do basic maintenance around your house, inspect your roof, check water faucets when we have a cold spell, cover them up. And you want to be proactive, and don't use insurance as a maintenance policy. It's used for catastrophic losses. And that's one way to try to keep the rates down. And before you file a claim, make sure you talk to your agent, make sure you met your deductible or exceeded your deductible, because you don't want that claim on your record.
Now, if someone believes they're paying too much for insurance, can they reach out to you guys for free quotes?
Absolutely. Quotes, and I always tell people, quotes are free. They're easy. There's no obligation. There's nothing that gets attached to a credit report or anything like that. We can usually get a quote done while you're on the phone within 10 minutes. We'll email it to you. And we're fully transparent. If we can't beat your current company, we're going to tell you that up front. We'll even review your current company and say, hey, go back to your agent. You might want to increase this, decrease that. You don't need this, because it's what's best for the customer, not what's best for us.
Very good. Give the team at Cindy Leisure Farmers Insurance Agency a call for any of your insurance needs. The number is 972-784-8888. Again, the number, 972-784-8888. Be sure to ask them about their first responder discount. And we're back. Back to more Offbeat, the light side of law enforcement. We've got 2/3 guests joining us today. We've got my wife, Karen.
Hello.
And then we've got retired Officer Andy Caceras.
Hello, everybody.
And then joining us remotely from Mississippi, we've got retired Officer Michael Finley.
Hi there.
Now,
And me.
What was that?
I said and me.
And yeah, but I didn't even mention me that
Well,
time.
you're the one who's talking.
You're the host.
You're the host. Everyone knows who you are. They're going to get to know me over the next couple of weeks.
What am I? Am I a guest or am I a host?
You're a guest.
You're a guest.
Okay. But I don't have any officer stories.
I don't either.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I do, but I just don't tell them.
Okay.
Oh, I can't take you two anywhere.
Where am I? Who am I?
I don't think you'll win that one, Steve.
Now, if you have not been to our website yet, check it out, guys. It's offbeatcopshow.com. Again, offbeatcopshow.com. You can listen to all episodes there on the website. Also on the website, we've got a link to the RMS Treehouse Listeners Foundation. Of course, the foundation is there to provide monetary support for families of fallen officers and firefighters here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It covers 10 counties. So check out the Listeners Foundation as well. I'd invite you to make a donation there to those guys, to the foundation. Also, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. We do put all the shows on YouTube. So if you haven't watched on YouTube, I'd invite you to do that as well. On YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button,
And the like button,
the like button,
share button,
follow.
follow,
Okay.
notifications.
Just click all the buttons.
Click all the buttons.
Thumbs up.
We know people like to click buttons. Just click all the buttons.
All
Think
the
of it like
above.
being in the elevator.
Yeah. People like to push buttons. Go ahead.
I'll push. Yeah.
Joann really likes to push buttons. Now, Andy, your stories, you had the story of the fish, and then you did some recruiting at
The Hooker Hotel.
at the Hooker Hotel. I like
Hooker Hotel.
the Hooker,
Hooker
Hotel. So now you tell us you've got a story about a phone cord.
I sure do.
Let us have it.
I'm ready. I think.
Well, when I was in criminal intelligence, you're in plain clothes, so you're no uniform. But, I drive around all over the city, put it on the police radio on what station, what's division I'm kind of driving around, just kind of make sure, if a call comes out, you could kind of assist, these officers, they need it, any kind of assistance. So I was on Channel 4, Oak Cliff area again, and there was an officer was on the radio calling for, he was behind a stolen vehicle.
That seems to be the theme with you guys in Dallas.
Stolen
Everybody loves
vehicles
driving stolen vehicles.
and dope.
So, he gets on radio, like I said, he's got a stolen vehicle he's chasing. So, I'm close by when I hear the officer get on the radio. So, I decided to follow. I'm in a, regular car, code vehicle. So I'm code trailing the chase, and the suspect finally decides to pull over and give up.
He's going to lay it down.
Unusual, but he decides to pull over, he gives up. So the officers get up there, he's saying, hey, it's my friend's car, giving all these excuses. So, they handcuff him. And, I get out, let the officers, handle business because, I got my raid jacket. So they're bringing him back to the squad car. And, before you put anybody in the squad car, you got to do, body search, make sure there's no weapons, any kind of, dope, drugs, anything like that. So before you put him in, this individual had a phone cord sticking out in front of his pants, like the charger for your cell phone.
So
It was sticking out in front of his pants. You could see it sticking out.
Out of the top of his jeans, like at the waist.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I got you.
So it was sticking out. The cord was sticking out.
Okay.
He's charging his junk.
Karen, you say that?
What?
What happened?
Oh no! Did she guess it?
So the officer goes up there and starts pulling it, and when he pulls it, the suspect goes down and screams.
Oh no!
I said, "What the hell?" And he keeps pulling, and the suspect keeps going down, and keeps screaming. So what this individual had the phone cord wrapped around
His business.
his junk.
His man parts.
It was wrapped around his junk. So every time he pulled it, it would pull.
Oh my God.
It would get tighter. So
At
it would
what
get
point?
pulled.
At what point did the officer realize that that's what was going on, and he was just like, "Oh, let me see what happens if I do it again."
So many questions.
So many questions. Like, yeah.
Did he explain why he did that?
Yeah.
Well, he did explain why. That's why the officer realized that what what was going on, because the individual did tell him, said, you know, I got the phone wrapped around my private part, because he does that. He told the officer, he told us that he does that because it keeps them from using their bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. That's probably why he has to go to the bathroom all the time. He's damaging everything. Let's go back to the diaper. He should just wear a diaper.
Yeah, I'm with you, Andy. So many questions.
You don't know what to say. Just, you know, it was just weird.
That's one of those you just kind of shake your head and walk away. And say,
and, you know, the officer pulling the cord didn't realize that, you know, he didn't have any gloves. And after he realized,
yeah. He's like,
after he realized that he'd put some gloves on, to, you know, just to unwind it.
And then you have to. Oh no! I would have been like, call me EMS. I need a DFR.
We need
message
someone
one.
to unplug a phone cord.
That's funny.
All right, guys. That's what we got for today's show. Andy, Michael, thanks for being on. It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Glad to be here.
And guys, keep it real. Keep it funny. Until next time, stay safe and watch each other six.
Take care.